Now this is a statue. We're in the music city of Nashville, Tennessee, famous for country music and honky-tonks, and of course, if you're a foodie, plenty of places to eat. And if you're a whiskey lover, this is a top destination as well. We only have a couple days, so there's so much to see. But before we start our adventure, if you're new here, my name is John. I do plenty of different travel videos and travel tips. Subscribe if you're interested in learning more about adventures, and like the video if you enjoy it. Now let's get started. I know what you're thinking. Another city and another farmer's market. The farmer's market in Nashville is right by the Capitol building and Bicentennial Park, and there's tons of options, so let's go see. Coffee acquired. We were on our way out of the market and we passed by Pink Door Cookies, and of course we had to indulge in a few delicious treats, but more on that later. Right by the farmer's market is Bicentennial Park, and it's a beautiful green space. But Greg, you were telling me something interesting about this timeline that runs along the park.
Yeah, so fun fact, the timeline starts all the way at one end of the park and goes way to the other side. My favorite part is in like the mid 1800s, and we're close, but we got to go up a little bit until you see. Where we were before, it was one solid line coming straight down, and it was around the time of the Civil War. And so right when the Union starts to crack and crumble, the wall cracks and starts to crumble itself. And you can see it literally breaks into bits and pieces all the way down until here, where we're standing, where Memphis surrendered to the Union on June 6th, 1862. And at that point, Tennessee starts to sort of build itself back into the Union as the country comes back together, and then the wall recontinues. And so I think it's a really beautiful symbolism here.
Yeah, it's very symbolic.
The best part, though, is that it was actually Andrea who taught me that. Oh. I had lived here for a few months before she first came to visit, and it was first nature to her. I didn't even catch it, so the symbolism is fantastic.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
But I think the Capitol is right across the way, and that's like our next stop.
Yeah,
right? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's head over there.
Awesome.
We made it to the Capitol building, and of course you'll notice that it's small and mighty, but it's on top of the hill, so it blends great with the skyline here. And if you decide to go into the building, there's guided and self-guided tours. And fun fact, it is one of 12 Capitol buildings that does not have a dome, and the 11th President of the United States, President Polk, is buried there. So for the history buff, this is a stop that you got to check out. Right at the opposite end of the Capitol is a beautiful monument that has 95 bells, a tribute to all the famous people in Tennessee. And Greg, you were telling me a fun fact about the monument as well.
Yeah, well, actually right in the center is the Tennessee symbol, the tri-star, or the 3 stars, which represents the east, central, and west areas of Tennessee, because they're all geographically different. You have the mountains in the east, the plateau in the center, and the plains in the west.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
We decided to stop for a quick break as we enjoy our cookies from Pink Door Cookies, and given that they're melting away, let's dive in. It's really good with the toffee flavor. Has some good sugar with it as well. But let's also go into the wedding cake. It's really good too. It has a vanilla icing flavor, but super delicious. Great snack to have. But we need to eat this before they both melt away. When you come to Nashville, obviously you come here for the music, but the food is spectacular. And of course, barbecue is a huge staple here. We came to Martin's, which obviously is famous for their barbecue. I got their classic brisket, green beans, mac and cheese, and some of their barbecue sauce. But they also have cornbread, which is similar to like a pancake, which is really cool. They have their house-made sauce, which is called the Jack's Creek, which is named after a location between Hendersonville and Lexington, which they cook a lot of their hogs 24/7, which is really cool. But we're gonna dig in and then give our review afterwards. Obviously, everything was delicious, and Martin's definitely delivered. There wasn't a morsel left on my plate. Besides the brisket, the green beans, really spectacular. I don't know what kind of sauce they had in there, but really delicious. Mac and cheese. The cheese was very like gooey and flavorful. The brisket, I used the sauce that they had with it, which was a different sauce than Jack's Creek, and that was really good. The Jack's Creek sauce is much more vinegary, so if you're into more vinegary barbecue sauces, this is the way to go. But you can order different platters. They have burger, wings, so many options, but they have something for everyone here. We're at Centennial Park, which is located in the West End near Vanderbilt University. And this is the place that is the green space that you can hike, run, walk your dog, have a picnic, just enjoy some nature. But there's one thing that's really unique here, so you're gonna wanna stay tuned as we get a closer look. Right in the middle of Centennial Park is the Parthenon. That's right, the Parthenon. It is the only life-size replica of the Parthenon, which you've probably heard about in Athens, Greece, but this replica is in Nashville, Tennessee. And it's filled with art and different exhibits, so you're gonna wanna stay tuned as we go explore. Parthenon was built in 1897 for the World's Fair, and they used paper mache. It was not originally intended to last that long, but given that Nashville is known as the Athens of the South, later on they decided that they wanted something that would be lasting forever. Now most people, if they know the nickname Athens of the South, because there's so many universities, education, and learning, they really wanted to embrace that. In the 1920s, they upped the construction to concrete. That way they could have a Parthenon that will last forever. When you first enter the Parthenon, you'll see an exhibit showcasing when it was first constructed in 1897 for the World's Fair. And it's really interesting to see the development. Later on, we're going to see an exhibit that showcases all the sculpture and artwork that goes around the building. Now, to enter the Parthenon, it costs $10, and that's just a small fee, as they have rotating art exhibits, so it's not all about the building itself. So it's really cool when you get your money's worth out of it. The first art exhibit is by Duncan McDaniel, and you can see his artwork was very much inspired with Greek history and mythology. It's modern art combined with ancient history. In the wing next to the main gallery, you have their permanent art gallery, which is the James Cohen Collection, which focuses primarily on American artwork. In the role of a replica exhibit, there's some hands-on activities, so let's go check it out. In this part, we're learning how a mold and casts are made. So we're gonna arrange the order of things and cross my fingers I get this correctly. Let's see, maybe there. Ooh, I got one right. Maybe this. Not that. Ooh. Nope. Nope. Yep. Bingo. Finished product. Now this is a statue. Behind me is Athena, the goddess Athena, standing at 42 feet. This is an exact replica of the statue that was in Athens. And you can see, super impressive and the main focal point. Athena is holding the goddess Nike. And while Nike looks super small from here, she's actually 6 feet and 4 inches, which is taller than me. When you walk past Athena, you'll enter a gallery that shows the east and west pediments. On the outside, you'll see beautiful statues. And how did they get to this point? Well, they got castings from England, and they used their knowledge of what the Parthenon used to look like back in ancient times to develop these statues and decorate the building. It's so beautiful. I feel like I'm walking into a secret garden. When you stroll through Centennial Park, you need to check out Lake Watauga. It's so relaxing and easy to take a stroll, and it was added for the World's Fair in 1897. It was such a great addition to the heart of Nashville. Centennial Park is absolutely beautiful, especially on a sunny day, and the Parthenon, well worth the $10. You see so many different art exhibits, and they have a rotating exhibit, so you can always see something new there. So you have to put this on your must-do in Nashville. You can't come to Nashville without trying their signature dish, hot chicken, and Prince's is one of the best. So we're gonna put it to the test and have some hot chicken from Prince's. So Gregory, you were talking about Prince's hot chicken, which we got at the Assembly Food Hall. We'll get to that in a minute, but tell me about Prince's.
It's one of the 2 hotly contested fried chicken places in Nashville. You have Hattie B's. Prince's claims to be the original. You went with Prince's today. It's a great choice in my opinion. You also went with the medium, which I think is highly responsible. There's a lot of people who come here who underestimate how hot the hot is. And hot is not even the highest heat level that they offer.
Yeah. Now, when you go to Prince's, you can get mild to XXX hot.
Yeah.
And the person next to me had hot. It was like a different color. It was like a neon red.
The great part about Assembly is that it is right off of Broadway, and it has something for quite literally everybody.
Yeah. I mean, it's huge. There's parking. There's every food option you can imagine. So you will definitely not starve here for sure. And it's right by the music scene, so you can hear the street come alive. But you know what? I'm ready to dig in, Greg. What
Absolutely.
about you?
Let's do it.
All right, let's cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
I can already feel the heat. It's very crispy. My body would not survive anything hotter at all.
I get that. I do.
But I love the spices that come from it. I mean, that's really, really good chicken.
It is really, it's a really unique spice.
Yeah. I was able to get through 3, but I'm struggling to get through the 4th. The medium, I think, was the most spicy I would ever go. For those that are adventurous and will go to a XXX hot, I wish you the best. Because that seems like a horrible decision to make. They say it couldn't be done. But I did it. There were doubters in the audience. And if this was man versus food, man conquered it.
The real question is how was it?
It was delicious, spicy, a lot of spice. Like I said earlier, if you're into spice, that is the place to go.
Yeah.
The Assembly Food Hall has over 30 different stalls, and Greg, there's so many different choices.
So many different choices, and bars.
And
you
bars.
can drink and relax. It's right off of Broadway. Broadway is right ahead of us.
Yeah.
So it's a great place to come and get a bite to eat.
Exactly. I think there's even a rooftop to relax.
There is a rooftop to relax on that, and it is a venue space as well. I've not been up there just yet, but I've heard very good things about it.
Yeah. So there's plenty to do here. Definitely worth checking out. Nashville is known as the music capital of the world, and there's no better place in Nashville to find live music than along Broadway. You can find music venues and honky-tonks, and it's a great place to grab a drink and listen to some great music. If you're looking for a recommendation on Broadway, Tootsie's is always a classic. I think you said it was the oldest honky tonk.
That I know of, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
One of the originals.
But what would your recommendation be?
Okay, as a person who lives in Nashville, I do tend to avoid downtown, but I do have one recommendation. It's on the lower side of Broadway. I'll take you there.
Okay, let's go. We're outside Ole Red, which I think you mentioned was your favorite.
It is one of my favorite places to come on Lower Broadway. The reason being is they have a rooftop that not a lot of people go to often.
Okay.
And I don't know why, because you get live music, but it's usually acoustic, and it's a much more comfortable, relaxed setting. You can lounge out in some couches up there, look out over Broadway, listen to some live music, and just really enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
If you do want, you know, that more traditional honky-tonk vibe, you can also come downstairs onto their main floor, and you can see the band in there right now jamming out, having a good time.
Yeah. But yeah, it sounds like we definitely need to check out, at least for me, since it's my first time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's go inside.
Awesome. So this is why I like the Lookout. You can see already it's more quiet. It's a little bit more tame now. We came midweek, so on the weekend, this place is crowded, but it's still much more breathable. And like I said, they'll have acoustic music inside. And when you come out here, you have great views of the rest of downtown, Nissan Stadium, our bridge.
I mean, it looks absolutely spectacular, but I mean, J-Lou travel tip. Got to walk through the main bar to get up to the elevator to get to the Lookout and just see the spectacular views that we have here.
That is true. That is very true. You got to fight those original crowds, but it's worth it in the long run.
Absolutely. The Gulch is filled with restaurants, and we were told there's one place in particular that we got to check out. The $5 Bakery has locations all over Nashville and even one in Franklin. And just like the name suggests, it was named after a family that started the company that had 5 daughters. And they've continued that tradition as a family-owned business, and they're famous for their donuts and coffee, but we got to see if the hype lives up to it. We acquired their donuts. They're famous for their 100-layer donuts, which looks similar to a croissant. I got their minis, their seasonal minis, but you can get their full-size donuts, which look huge. They also have a couple vegan options, but these look delicious. I'm ready to dig in. We're starting with their Purist, which has a nice vanilla glaze. It smells absolutely delicious. It's nice. A little bit of doughy, also fluffy as well. You can get the vanilla flavor as well from the Purist. Absolutely delicious. For a beverage, Gregory recommended a honey latte, and just like the name implies, it's a latte with honey. So we're going to test this out, but cheers. We got all the goods, the coffee, the donuts, and even a delicious treat for Greg. But let's head to our next adventure. Obviously, Tennessee has a lot of different distilleries, but the one that you need to come to is Jack Daniel's. It's just 60 miles south of Nashville in Lynchburg, Tennessee, and we're about to start our tour, so I'm super excited. So let's head on in. When we booked our tour, we had the option to add on a special beverage. Now, you could do a Jack and Coke or a Jack and Lemonade frozen drink. And since it's warming up a little bit, we decided to go with the Jack and Lemonade frozen drink. So we're super excited to be trying that along with our flight. We have moonshine that was sprayed on our hands to sanitize them. It smells very strong.
A couple things to talk about before we head out. Talk some more loopholes for a dry county law. Besides you guys drinking whiskeys for educational purposes, we get to sell bottles of whiskey inside our bottle shop inside the visitor center. It's called the White Rabbit Bottle Shop. Sometimes we offer whiskeys in there you can't get anywhere else but that bottle shop, so we classify that whiskey as a souvenir. If it's a souvenir, you can sell souvenirs in the dry county. So, a couple good loopholes for you guys.
This is the original spring at Jack Daniel's that they still use today. And what makes it so unique with this water source is that it's iron-free, and it also stays at a consistent temperature at 56 degrees. And it's just remarkable that they found a water source that does that. We learned that Jack Daniel's was only 5'2", and their statue is 7 inches taller than his regular height. So even by standards back in the 1800s, he was really short.
Much around here.
Very smooth, the Gentleman Jack.
Got some different was as a company.
Obviously, the tasting is one of the big highlights of the tour. I still think my favorite is the classic Jack Daniel's number 7. Makes a nice Jack and Coke, but you can't go wrong with any of them. The tour was fantastic. They really go in depth with the history as well as the distilling process, and you walk all over their campus. There are some stairs, so if you're worried about accessibility, that could be a concern. And I think the tasting, superb. Costs about $30 to $35. Could depend on which type of tour that you want to do. But now we're heading to historic Lynchburg, so let's head that way. Lynchburg is just 2 blocks away from Jack Daniel's Distillery, and what's really interesting is it's situated in Moore County, which is a dry county. So to get around the rules, Jack Daniel's sells souvenirs and educational items. So it's really interesting that they're in this environment. What goes great with whiskey? Barbecue. Let's get a bite of a little bit of everything. That way we can taste all the delicious flavors.
That's a massive bite.
Pulled pork, super juicy, well seasoned. Just love it. I think we're gonna eat this up quite fast. I have to say, I gotta give this place a thumbs up. Perfect place to come after a tour and get a bite to eat. With music being such a huge influence in Nashville because of the honky tonks, country music venues, Grand Ole Opry, Ryman Auditorium, and Music Row, obviously this is the place where you need to have the Country Music Hall of Fame. And that's where we are right now. So we're gonna dive deep into the music legends that made Nashville famous. The Country Music Hall of Fame was great. It starts with the early era and the origins of country music all the way to the modern era. Now, you can choose your experience of a self-guided tour, or there's a couple different experiences that you could do, roughly about $30, but you have freedom to decide what kind of experience you want. It takes about an hour to 2 hours, hands-on exhibit, and it's family friendly, so everyone can enjoy it. My personal favorite was the Elvis car, where he had the TV and the Taylor Swift exhibits, but it's a must-do for everyone in Nashville. Hat Show Print is located behind the Country Music Hall of Fame and Museum, and they are famous for their woodblock prints of country stars. Now, they do offer a tour, but that sells out really fast, but it's a great place to get a souvenir and find a piece of artwork. Even if you're not able to book a tour ticket, you can come into their design shop, as they have many different options, and you can take a little souvenir to go home. Obviously, Nashville is a huge party scene, and even on the pedal taverns and the party bus, you can see bachelorette parties and other festivities, and everyone's getting in the spirit. Smells delicious. We entered GooGoo Chocolate Co., and they are famous as they invented America's first combination candy bar, and that consists of peanuts, chocolate, marshmallow nougat, and caramel. So delicious. Obviously very popular, and there's some hands-on experience that you can see behind the scenes how they make the candy bar. But also, there's one hands-on experience that we're going to try out, which is designing our own GooGoo chocolate bar. So let's go head that way and try it out. When you make your own GooGoo cluster, it is made right in front of you on the spot. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes from when you put the order to getting it in your hand. Here's where we start to design our own GooGoo cluster. It looks like ours are coming up right now. There are so many options, but I went with a dark chocolate shell with peanut butter, Oreo bits, toffee bits, and Gregory, what did you go with?
I also went with dark chocolate, and I did the maple brown sugar nougat with peanut butter, cinnamon toast crunch, pretzels, and pecans. And I finished mine off with some sea salt.
Ooh, that does look good.
Yeah.
I did not do the sea salt, but still good option.
Still looks delicious, yeah. Cheers.
Cheers. I really like it with the different like crunchy bits, along with the peanut butter. And I'm a big dark chocolate fan, so I love that taste and the after taste.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The salt, the crunch, the nougat in mine, it's all phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like a kid.
Yeah. In a candy store.
Yeah,
literally.
Exactly. Cheers again. Cheers. Mine is melting in my hand, and given that it's warm outside, there's no way this GooGoo cluster is going to survive anywhere beyond this point. So I'm taking one for the team and finishing my candy bar. If you're looking for great views of the downtown area, the John Segenthaler pedestrian bridge is the place to be. As you can see right behind me, the views are great. When you come to Nashville, you have to come see the Grand Ole Opry. Now, it has a deep, rich history and probably some twists and turns if you're not familiar with the area. So let's talk about that. If you're a country music fan and you think of the Grand Ole Opry, you're probably also thinking about the Ryman Auditorium, which is the mother church of country music. The Ryman Auditorium has some of the most memorable Grand Ole Opry moments. In fact, Elvis performed there, and Johnny Cash became a member and met his wife there. The Ryman broadcasted the last Opry show on March 15th, 1974. However, the next night, the Opry hosted its first event in its new location that had over 4,400 seats. In fact, Richard Nixon was in attendance, and he led a happy birthday song to his wife. Obviously, the new Opry House was bigger and much more spacious, and in 1978, they hosted their first television special. Grand Ole Opry is going to be turning 99 years this year, and I'm sure next year in 2025, celebrating its 100th anniversary, it's going to be a huge celebration. You can take tours of Ryman Auditorium as well as the Grand Ole Opry, but Greg, you were telling me some fun facts about the Grand Ole Opry?
Yeah, I got 2 fun facts. So one, if you take a tour here, you could run into some country stars. They are
really
known, if they're rehearsing for a show that night, you might run into them backstage during your tour. The other fun fact is there were a lot of mixed feelings about the Ryman, the mother church, as you said, no longer being the home of the Grand Ole Opry. So they reached an agreement where they took a 6-foot circle out of the original stage and actually put it right in the center of the Grand Ole Opry here, so that anybody performing is still stepping on that same stage that all of those in the past have performed on.
That's really great. I'm glad they kept that. It's a huge significance for the performers. All right, Greg, I think we got to talk about the elephant in the room, which is the location.
You mean the elephant behind us?
Yes, that one.
Yeah. Well, so the thing is the Grand Ole Opry, they needed more space, and so they built it about 20 minutes outside of Nashville, downtown proper, in what was at the time the Opryland theme park. Today, you can see the Opry Mills shopping center behind us, as well as the Gaylord Opryland Hotel right next to us.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a different vibe than the downtown, or if you're expecting like some big historical building, it's very different. There's still lots to do, don't get us wrong. There's a fun mall as well as the hotel, but a little bit different than, you know, a historical location.
Absolutely.
That wraps up our tour of Nashville. It really delivered on the music, the food, and the whiskey. My personal favorite was the Jack Daniel's tour, as well as the Country Music Hall of Fame, but there is something for everyone here. And if you enjoyed this video, subscribe for future adventures and give us a thumbs up. But until next time, keep on exploring.